and this is the August 15th book study session for Ask and It Is Given. And for those of you that have been with me a while, I'm not sure if anybody here was here originally 2 years ago, but Darylle Dennis came on and was a guest speaker with us a few years ago. She was introduced to me through a wonderful mutual friend of ours. And when our friend Debbie found out that I was doing this book study, she knew that she had to introduce me to Darylle, because Darylle actually has roots in with the law of attraction and Abraham Hicks, as she actually got to study with them back when they very first started here in Phoenix, Arizona, in their living room. So Darylle's been following the law of attraction and practicing that in her life for a very long time. So I'm very excited to hear more from Darylle this evening. But before we get moving into that section, I wanted to know, does anyone have anything that they would like to share, or any experiences that you've gone through with segment intending, which is the process that we've been practicing over the last couple of weeks? And so, Leo, yes, you had something you'd like to share?
Could you refresh my memory on segment intending? Because I don't remember what that is exactly.
Going through the motions of each moment in your day and setting intention before you move forward. Do you remember in the reading, they talked about, like, if you're cooking dinner and then you get a phone call, taking a moment to set your intention about how you want that to go, because you're trying to get this done at the same time, and then that has unexpectedly come in. Do you remember that?
Yeah. You know, I've been doing that for years, so that there's actually a name for that.
Segment intending. That's what Ask and Is Given gives us as a process to practice. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's one of the great things about the invention of caller ID, because you can look at that and go, oh, I know who's calling me now. You could take a moment, because before that you didn't know who was calling you.
That's true. That's true. Well, and they talked about that too, like taking that moment to decide, okay, is this phone call important enough to stop what I'm doing? And do I want to set the intention for how I would like that conversation to go, so that it doesn't completely take me away from where I'm at now? I don't know if you guys remember that in the explanation of it, but okay. So moving forward from that conversation, Leo was kind enough to volunteer to lead us in a meditation this evening. Leo, are you prepared for that?
I'm over prepared for it.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and let you take over and guide us through the meditation, so that we can set our timing for our guest speaker.
Okay. Before we start with the meditation, I'll just preface it with the following introduction. So previously, I had done progressive relaxation meditation. And then last time, Alini had done a chakra meditation. So what I'm going to do this evening is a combination of the two. It's going to be like a combo sort of progressive relaxation chakra meditation, but it's only going to focus on 2 chakras. I've been doing Reiki. And for those of you that don't know, Reiki is a form of hands-on healing that was developed by Tibetan monks many moons ago, and eventually brought to the West. And I'm wearing my Reiki T-shirt. You can see here, it's got the Reiki symbols on it. And in practicing Reiki over the last over 20 years, I've noticed most people that I've worked with seem to have blockages in 2 main chakras, the heart and the sacrum. And what's interesting about both of those is that the heart branches off to the arms and the sacrum branches off to the legs. And then in our arms and legs, we have energy centers in there as well. So in tonight's meditation, I'll be going over those. And I think that these 2 chakras, the heart, the center of feeling, and the sacrum, the center of creation, those are really 2 of the main centers that if you're wanting to take your manifestation to the next level, you have to have those areas cleared. because if you don't, then you may end up experiencing mana frustration. So anyway, we'll get started with that. I got to switch over to my other screen, so just give me a moment, and then we'll begin. Okay, here we go. So let us start by muting our devices if you already haven't done so. This way, there are no interruptions or distractions throughout this process. And next, be sure to kindly mute your microphone if you already haven't done so. That way we can have a clean recording. Finding a comfortable place to sit. And when you're ready, slowly, gently, and gradually, allow your eyes to close. Not forcing, but rather allowing. Feeling the seat beneath you and the floor beneath your feet. We're going to start with 3 deep cleansing breaths. Here we go. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Hold it. And exhale. Good. Continuing to breathe. And now bring in your attention and awareness to your heart center, the heart chakra, also known as the cardio plexus. This is the seat of your emotions. Feeling the energy of your feeling moving across your shoulders, down into the arms, through the biceps and triceps, through the elbows, through the forearms, through the wrists, and down to the fingertips. Continuing to breathe. Experiencing the loving energy of the heart moving through the arms. Bringing your attention and awareness to your sacral chakra. This is the seat of your creation powers. Feeling the energy of your creation moving into your hips. Down into the legs. The thigh muscles. The quadriceps. through the knees, down into the calf muscles, through the ankles, and the feet. All the way down to the toes. Continuing to breathe. Feeling the energy of the heart, loving fully. Feeling the energy of the sacrum, creating intentionally. Releasing any and all resistance in these two vital energy centers. Notice how the energy feels in your shoulders, elbows, and wrists. Also, notice how the energy feels in your hips, knees, and ankles. If you would like to tune into the energy even more, you can place your hands on these joints if you'd like. If that is comfortable for you to do so. Shoulders, elbows, wrists, hips, knees, ankles. Continuing to breathe. Arms embracing abundance. Legs engaging possibilities. Let the energy flow. Let the energy flow. Let the energy flow now. Feeling waves of relaxing energy moving throughout the entire body, through the limbs, every cell, every atom. And if any part of your body feels tight or tense, simply send relaxation there now. We're going to do 3 more deep cleansing breaths. Here we go. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Hold it. And exhale, big release. Continuing to breathe. Taking a moment to give thanks for this opportunity to check in with the body and the breath, expressing gratitude and appreciation for our feeling and creating. And now, whenever you're ready, slowly, gently, and gradually bringing your attention and awareness back to this time and space. Wiggling your toes and fingers, feeling the seat beneath you and the floor beneath your feet. You can open your eyes whenever you are ready by saying the words in your mind, wide awake, wide awake. All right, let's take a moment to soak that in.
Thank you so much, Leo.
You're welcome so much.
Yeah. What a great space to be in. Yes.
I just wanted to add, to that. What's interesting is when you do that heart sacral chakra meditation, you may feel at the beginning of it, the energy might be strong, like really strong in your heart and in your shoulders. And then when it gets down to your wrists, it's not as strong. So that's an indicator that you may have some work to do there in clearing that energy so that the energy from the heart will feel the same there as it does when it gets to your hands, you know. Also with the legs, the knees represent a willingness to be flexible. And people that have issues with their knees, there might be a little stubbornness there. I'm not pointing any fingers at anyone. But also with the ankles, that represents your willingness to move forward. So a lot of times what happens is the energy is really strong in your sacrum or in your hips. And then once you get to the knees or down to the ankles, it's not as strong because sometimes there's issues there with your moving forward with your creation, because that's what your legs are. That's your locomotion, you know. So when you're looking at your setting intention and you're manifesting, if it isn't quite showing up in your life the way you'd like it to, take a look at your joints and just kind of check in with it and feel the energy that's there, because your body's going to speak to you, right? And if you listen, you can kind of get in there and start fine-tuning your approach to it, you know. And I noticed since I started really focusing on that the last few years, the manifesting gets a lot easier. If the energy in your body isn't, you know, blocked up. So just wanted to throw that out there for people to, you know, bring attention to it, you know, work with it the next couple of weeks.
To tack along on top of that, I know a lot of you have heard me talk about Christina Lopes, who is someone that I follow quite often. And she put out a video not too long ago discussing the idea that the part that's generally missing when people are going through clearing and healing is the movement part, getting it out of the body. And she actually spoke about it in essence, even to talk therapy. If you're bringing it all up and getting it all spinning around, but you're not releasing it from the body, there's a missing piece there. And so she recommends dance and movement as a way to shake through and to get that out, whatever kind of movement you can do to kind of get movement going, to release that pent up energy from your body as you're going through the motions of talk therapy or whatever forms of therapy that you would go through to help heal. Leo, did you have something you wanted to add on to that?
Yeah, just in relation to what you were talking about, when you look at the yoga postures, they're all designed to move energy through the energy centers in your limbs, through your joints. So like when you look at warrior, triangle, all of those, they're all geometric shapes, and really what they're designed to do is to release blocked energy that's in there. And so I'm not saying everybody go out and do yoga, but having some sort of physical practice, walking, hiking, like whatever that is for you, I think it's good to get your joints moving, because then energy doesn't get stagnant in there. And then when you go to do your setting intention, then your intention isn't front loaded with a lot of resistance that's actually in your physical body. So.
Okay, well, thank you so much for setting us up to be able to receive the information that we're going to go through this evening. And so with that, I think, oh, yes, go ahead, Andy.
In the chat, Takira said something about, what about hands? And maybe she was feeling something during the meditation? Like different parts of your body?
I didn't see that part. Was she asking about hands and like toes, like the joints of the fingers and the toes type thing? Or I don't see it in the chat.
I don't see it in the chat.
Really? It seems like during the meditation.
Yeah, Andy, you're the best. Thank you. Hi, everybody. The meditation was so good, and I was asking about healing when he talked about the chakras. I was saying that my hands. Well, I was asking, what about the hands? What chakra should I focus on? Because I'm having like cholesterol. I have to lower it, and my hands were like affected over the past 6 months in really big ways. And I'm like, wow, I work with my hands, I build. I don't know what it's saying, but it's loud. So I'm thinking that chakra would help like clear something.
What I would recommend is years ago I read You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
Yeah.
And that really was an eye-opener for me. So I would recommend going back and maybe reviewing it, because there's a lot in there. But I know with me, and also just people I've worked with over the years, is if you have blockages in your heart energy, it tends to show up in your arms, because your arms are just the extension of your heart, your shoulders, elbows, wrists, So I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't, diagnose. But a lot of times, if Western medicine can't find it, a lot of times it's because it's in your energy. So I would invite you to explore that, and see if you can find some answers there.
Thank you. I agree. It's my energy. I don't even like doctors, but I feel like I can naturally heal, because she wanted to put me on medication. And I was like, no, I will do it. I will go to my law of attraction classes. Yeah. I will exercise. I will hike. I will run. I will eat oatmeal every day, but don't put me on medication. So I feel like the body can heal itself.
Yeah, I agree. And another little exercise you can use, and I've been doing this, for many years, is you can just take your hands, right, and you can place them over your heart center, just like place them right over your heart, and then just close your eyes and just listen to your body. Then take your hands and put them together in either prayer formation, or you can do the namaste like in yoga, and then just listen to the way it feels in your hands and in your heart, because when you put your hands together, what you're doing is you're closing the circuit, you know, because you have a left and a right. When you do that and you put your hands together, it might be easier to hear the energy that's going on inside your heart. So I'll give, and to everyone that's, you know, listening tonight, I'll give that to you to kind of just experiment with that, you know, take that, turn it into a little practice, and come back in a couple weeks and let us know how that's feeling.
That's amazing. Thank you. That was great.
That might be
You're amazing.
That might be a great way to set up your segment intending that we're going to be practicing over the next couple of weeks to close your hands and hear. That's a great addition to kind of setting you up for that practice. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, Leo, again for that meditation. And I feel like that we've set up really great space to have wonderful conversation this evening. And I want to again welcome and thank you, Darylle Dennis, for being here this evening. And so for those of you that weren't on when we first started, I just want to kind of give a brief introduction. Darylle and I were introduced to each other, I think it's been 2 years now ago. We were introduced through a mutual friend that once our mutual friend Debbie found out that I was doing the book study, she had to introduce me to Darylle, because Darylle has beginning roots with Abraham, with Esther and Jerry when they started in Phoenix back in the late 80s doing this in their living room. Darylle studied with them even back then and has brought forward the law of attraction practices into her life. And she is an amazing woman who has done a lot of public speaking, inspirational speaking. And the latest thing that she has accomplished is she has completed her book called Quantum Living. And I'm very excited to have her come on and speak a little bit about her early connections with the law of attraction, and then also to talk about her journey a little bit. And absolutely, I'm super excited to hear from her about her book, Quantum Living. And so I'm really excited that she was willing to come on and share with all of us this evening. And so welcome, Darylle, and thank you so much for being here. And I definitely look forward to hearing from you tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that, everything, everybody, for being here and that wonderful meditation. And, you know, everybody learns from everyone. So, you know, and I love, is Mima, is that right? Is Mima, is that your name? No, who's talked about not taking medication? Nakira. Oh, Nakira, sorry, I couldn't say. Oh, Takira, hi.
Yes.
I love that you said that. Takira, I love you said that, because we're born with an immune system. If we take care of our immune system, it's all good. We don't need to put things that our body isn't, you know, like it fights against. And that's why you get sicker. So I thought that was way cool that you said that. That's so evolved. And then come to the law of attraction class is the best. That's your solution. Is fantastic. So it's really great to be here. You know, it's something I just wanted to mention on the segment intending part is that was one of the standouts for me in early Abraham times, because I was working as a commercial banking consultant person, and interacted with a lot of different clients and had a lot of meetings. And so, and then too, with law of attraction, and I was also operating from intention to be of value. If I could sidestep even a moment, early Abraham, I mean, the only time I ever heard the word intention was like, somebody in Tennessee has a rifle pointed at some kid's head. What's your intention toward my daughter? You know what I mean? It's like, that's the only way I interpreted intention, was that, like, what's your intention toward, you know? But so I learned so much from her. I mean, it was just amazing, because nobody was speaking that way on those subjects anywhere in 1987. And so it was very early Abraham times. And then anyway, so the segment intention part came, and then it's, I would say, more specifically affected my business, because if you have 4 meetings a day, 5, or whatever is the segments of your day, they're all different energies. And there's a different purpose for you to be in that situation. And so when our intention is to be of highest value to another, we want to plug into what is that for them. So it's not a one size fits all intention. I mean, in one case, I get up every morning and my intention is to be of highest value to anyone who crosses my path. And I say that as I'm waking up until I'm fully awake. And then there's a momentum that has now been launched in the day, but then there's segments in the day. And so there's different, so it does a couple of things. One, you're connecting your own heart intent to be of value to another that's going to be different in the next segment, because there's different circumstances and different conditions and different reasons for your purpose and for them to receive. You see, like that. So the segment intent was a big deal. I was just like, wow. So I started putting that in my seminars, and I always gave Abraham credit, by the way. Always give credit where credit's due. And because I hear a lot of things, oh, you got that from Abraham. So when they don't say, I say, I heard that the other day. Someone said, do be have. I went, oh, Abraham. Really? He said, I don't know who's that, like that. I went, it's okay, because it's been spreading like wildfire for 35 years or something, But anyway, so I wanted to mention that about segment intention, because it's actually a big deal. And what I noticed is that more of my own potential emerged when I focused in each segment to be specifically of value to this individual or this individual. So more of my potential emerged because each individual is different. And so it's a very cool subject. So I'm loving that that's your subject, Christina. Yeah, it's so cool. And then the other thing I don't know, it just came to me, not that, a couple hours ago, actually, but because it actually is connected to the book I wrote called Quantum Living, Moving at the Speed of Life. And what is that, is that the early Abraham, when she was they were talking about manifestation. She said it just like this, and I totally forgot. In the first time, Christina, that we did this together, I couldn't remember this part because it was so long ago, But here's what she said. Manifestation has 3 parts. 1, what do you want? Part 2 is none of your business. She said it just like that. And maybe she's still saying that. And then she added down the road a bit, because it's not our work. And number 3, stay in a joyful place. That's it. That is the secret to manifestation. And so what Quantum Living, the book I just completed, it was published, 3 Mondays ago, and is now in 15 countries and throughout the US and Canada. And it was bought in Germany and India and Bangladesh. I was just like so excited when I saw them, like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Because what it's about is step 2. The entire book is about step 2. Manny has a question.
No, I don't have a question. I'm just excited. It's
okay.
which is not your work, not your business, right?
It's not your, it's none of your business. She said it just like that. Number 2 is none of your business. I'm like, okay, what's that mean? Right. And so and then when she went on to say later, it's not our work to configure the universe to coalesce and form in any kind of way to actually then bring the manifestation to you. That's not our work. That's not what we do. But what we do to bring, I would say, magnetize to our life that which we want, has to do with being in harmony with the higher frequencies in the quantum field, which is what they've said all along, is that. And so the higher frequencies, and then I discovered more things about that, but the higher frequencies in the quantum field, they have intelligence. Energy has intelligence in it. think about that. There's information and intelligence. So if you're in a high state frequency, and the high state frequency is of creativity, and creativity is creation, new ideas, new inspirations, new pictures, new all of that, because there's information in the higher frequencies as well as intelligence. And actually, another quick sidestep, what started the whole book journey, this particular book journey, was I've just been reading about and studying about and fascinated about the human being. And I've never been able to get enough of learning about the human being, hearing people's stories, how the impossible is made possible with just determination and something. I mean, I was always, as a little kid, reading autobiographies that my mom gave me. And one time she gave me a book that was a biography. That's someone talking about someone else. And I didn't know what I was saying, but I knew what I was feeling. And I said to my mom when I gave it back, this isn't the same. That's all I remember. It's not the same, because there is something when someone is sharing about themselves that has a frequency in it. That's way cool, right? And so anyway, and all the movies, my film library is all based on a true story. I had a boyfriend one time went, well, got to see the movie tonight because it's based on a true story, you know. And then on my graveside, I really want to have Darylle V. Dennis based on a true story. I mean, I just, I've been that fascinated by humans. I mean, I can't describe it. I just think it's all, consciousness is fascinating. Heart-based energies are fascinating. It's all amazing, and we're amazing, and people don't know it. And in the beginning of writing this book, what I came to realize, I was looking up, you know, genius people, Tesla and Stephen Jobs and Einstein, and what they say, because Einstein became quite a philosopher in the last half of his life. And but anyway, I saw Tesla's quote. I've seen it, I don't know how many times. And the quote is, if you want to find the mysteries of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And so then Einstein said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. This is not philosophy, this is physics. It can be no other way. Abraham's been saying that a long time. Same kind of stuff. Match the frequency. You can't desire abundance and say that'll probably never happen to me, because the frequencies are so different. And so anyway, with that, I pondered that really deeply for some reason. Well, if everything's energy, what does that mean exactly? When I was driving, when I was sleeping, when I was falling asleep, when I'm waking up, what does it mean exactly that everything is energy? And then for some reason, the question came up in my own mind, well, if everything is energy, then that means genius is a frequency, not a brain intelligence quotient. That's a capacity of the mind. It isn't that at all, if everything in fact is energy. So that means genius is an energy. Well, then that means intelligence is an energy. That means creativity is an energy. That means intuition is an energy. Holy moly. So I went through all of that. And then in one of my meditation times in the morning, maybe 3 weeks went by. And have you ever had in a meditation where the knowing is so clear that it's almost like a voice, and maybe even is a voice?
Yes.
So this was that time. And the voice said, look up quantum realm. I went, I'm sorry, excuse me. Are you still there? Excuse me. What? Oh, okay. Crickets, I guess, gone. You know, so I go to my computer and look up quantum. I mean, I knew realm meant space or dimension or area or something. You know, I mean, I knew that much. But anyway, I look it up, and then lo and behold, when I Googled quantum realm, there's a book called The Quantum Realm. This was before I thought the name would be quantum or I'd be doing anything about quantum. at all, never crossed my mind. So I look it up, and lo and behold, the quantum realm is written by a guy named Mark Montgomery, and he defined quantum as quantum is the ratio between the amount of energy spent to the magnitude of the result. I was so struck by that because I had been applying for a long time intention to be of value. And guess what happens when you intend to be of value to another human being or to a circumstance or a situation? It's teeny weeny effort, huge results. In business, and so there's some in the book about business, actual business scenarios that are just not possible happen. Teeny weeny effort. Because when the teeny weeny effort is intention to be of value to human life, to improve the quality of life for humanity, as was Tesla since he was 6. That's all he thought about. Didn't want to get married because that would take it would just be a distraction, even in moments, to his purpose for being alive. That's pretty powerful. And here's the other thing I noticed in looking up, because I had this idea of these, I saw the stuff Einstein talks about and all that math. I can't even read the writing. It's like, you know what I mean? So like no one could steal his work, because what were those scribbles? You know what I mean? It's like, so I thought that level of the field is reserved for geniuses only. And so when I started to realize if everything's a frequency, and then I looked at other geniuses, for example, Thomas Edison, who Tesla interacted with. And so he not only interacted with, without going to the big story, Edison was working on DC, which is electric current that goes in like one direction. And then it was hot and caught stuff on fire and all kinds of things. So Tesla in his early life was, being mentored by him, and he could see in the field. You look up Nikola Tesla's drawings. Guess where he got those drawings? When he was in horse and buggy and candlelight days. There's no context for what he saw in the field. So then I thought, well, we're still talking about Einstein. We're still talking about Tesla. We're still talking about Stephen Jobs. What do they have in common? And when I looked at what they had in common, was their intent to be of value to humanity. That is such a big deal to launch. So intention, and the definition of intention is generator of power to produce. And then my words would be an outcome. It also means thought together with quality of purposefulness. So the quality of the purposefulness is what gives intention power. So then you use that power to be of value to another human being or to improve the quality of life on this earth. It's such a big deal. That's the key that gets access into the higher states of the quantum field, which is where I was talking with somebody. Well, actually, it was Debbie, Christina, talking with Debbie about about our time together. I was looking forward to, and I said, I'm really looking forward to this subject because law of attraction is like baseball. The quantum field is the field they're playing on. Law of attraction plays on. Because it's not baseball if you don't have a field to play on, the field of baseball. Do you know what I mean? You just are. Baseball is then it doesn't have a way to express itself. So the quantum field is the field that law of attraction expresses itself. And it's a really big deal. And Abraham Wayne Dyer in one of his books wrote, they're the greatest teachers on planet Earth, like period, and they have really anchored something that was not, I don't know what, offered for reasons of keeping us small and without going into any kind of sinister anything, but it's a fact. And so, and in somewhere in the book, maybe even in the introduction, one of the things I said is the biggest issue of all, that we simply must wake up to right now is this idea of small with no power is the biggest lie ever told to the power of our consciousness and our beingness and God's presence in our DNA. And then Greg Braden is talking about this at some levels. I mean, he's actually like, there's some kind of the characteristics inside the DNA that basically says, I am God, inside our own DNA. So, and then Einstein, one of the quotes I did put in the book, that he said it's so cool. He says, like, the spirit that moves our soul is the same spirit that moves the universe. And then I wrote, does that sound small to you? Wake up. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. Because, and then the other part, so I try to build a case in here to make that point clearer. If you look at another way to what's happening is the amount, look at the billions and billions and billions of dollars that are spent to do what? Get our attention. Now, why is that happening? Why is our attention important to others to the point that they're spending billions of dollars like it's the only issue? Because they know something that we don't, but we do know. On this call, we know. But a whole bunch of people don't know. What they know is when you put your attention on something, it gets bigger. They know that consciousness is that powerful. So if they can get enough of us to, that's why it's a shiny object. That's why this report about we're all there's a rocket coming and they'll do stuff to launch fear. They don't care their methods. They care that they get you to look at what's important to them because it will make them bigger. And so people that operate in that level are not connected to their higher self because it's a manipulation. So it has a very low frequency. So they actually are not capable of doing what we're capable of doing, everyone on this call. So when we focus our attention on being of value to another human being, it's so simple. And by the way, the other thing I noticed about these high state frequencies in the field, looking at all of this, is that the smallest of kindness has the same frequencies as the really big stuff, because the smallest of kindness done in love, intended in love, in loving, in contribution, is of the highest states in the universe. And lucky us, and thank you to Christina for really anchoring that this teaching of Abraham is the most important on planet Earth. And it's all over the world. I was in a living room, there are 8 people. And one of the questions, this guy went, how do you get a girl? I went, okay, let me see. We have the intelligence of the universe sitting here with the tape recorder on her lap, and he wants to know how to get a girl. I'll be your girl just so you ask another question. I actually didn't say that. I just made that up. But anyway, I was thinking it, right? And it was like $35 for the whole day, entire full day, $35. And then Jerry is in the laundry room with, you remember those cassette duplication things at 6 minutes on one side and 6 on the other side. So he had it set up on the washing machine and the dryer so that everybody got a recording. I'm just telling you, I wish I had a picture of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I saw them in many laundry rooms. This went on for a long time. And so anyway, and then I got happy when and then we had to have lunch and stuff. And, because we were just I was so in awe of how familiar everything sounded. And I said that to them, I guess, is like, the language is so familiar. There's not a speck of judgment in it, nothing. That's why they're in the highest state all the time. So what the quantum living book is about is how to interact with the quantum field to be able to just have the highest states to show up. When you're in a high state of consciousness, like a high frequency, like you're happy, and then suddenly stuff. Everybody says the same thing, myself included. Like, how did I know that? Where did that come from? Do you know what I mean? When I was working had worked with Abraham so early on, you know, and I was saying that to a boyfriend, like, I don't know how I'm knowing what I know. And where did this come from? I didn't get that it was intention and the intention. And cool thing. Just remember the book, The Quantum Realm by Mark Montgomery. What he said is the nucleus, the actual heart center of quantum frequencies is intention. Highest intention is contribution based, gratitude based, which is a gratitude act, actually. Do you know? And so, but the what drives quantum is intention. So imagine that then your subject of segment, intention, how powerful each segment will become, because it's all unique. It's a unique segment of energy and time. How cool is that? You know, anyway, I could go on and on. I just love the subject. Actually, I will say one more thing. I think it's chapter 3. I have in chapter 3 here. It's called leveraging quantum energy. Because leveraging quantum energy is how do you get the field to do the heavy lifting? Because remember, what do you want? Step one, what do you want? Step 2 is none of your business. Well, this is how the quantum field works. Oh, I'll give you, this is another good one I want to share, because this is like a confession too, but I was so happy it happened as you know, sorry this happened, but not really, because it was too fabulous. Everything in the book I've lived firsthand. So I get the concept of frequency, and Abraham's been very good about the idea of a radio station. Transmitter receiver has to match, right? And you can't listen to, you know, acid rock on a talk show. I mean, because they're different frequencies and transmitters and receivers, and all of that. And so anyway, and I knew that, so I kind of assumed that part, high frequency states, you know, and is like, that's the transmitter. It comes from us to receive a matching. So I'm doing the last event, live event I did in Denver before the lockdown. I'm always in very high states before, because it's what would you call it? It's like being entrusted with people's hope and stuff. So how I've always entered every situation with that. And there's a responsibility in that to be as pure-hearted, agenda-free of any form, and to be able to serve purely of the highest frequency and ask the highest sources, the universe, to flow through me for the sake of the people. And so by the time I get in the group, I've even had guys say, you're kind of like glowing. What do? You do always glow. You know, I don't see stuff like that. I know people can see energies. I'm not one of them. But anyway, I've heard that a long time. So I'm do so many of these classes. So I'm looking to my left and you know, and interacting with the people about first 20 minutes. And then on the far right, the door opens, and the energy that walked in was so dark and aggressive and bitter and rage-filled and judgment. I mean, it was horrible energy. So see, I just said a judgment. So when I looked over at her, I was thrown out of that field like instantly. There wasn't, I can't even say nanosecond. The moment I judged, gone. And so, and the whole time of the class, I couldn't get back in there. I stayed. She was still in the room being really annoying, you know? So anyway, then the class was, Christina gets me. So anyway, the class is over, and the woman that hosted it, everybody's gone. And she went, what happened to you? I don't get it. You came in and you were you, and then something happened and you weren't you anymore. And then what happened? Now, one would think I would apologize. I did not. I celebrated, because I went, oh my God, I have a witness to the frequency shift. I'm so happy. You know, sorry for you, happy for me, because that's evidence of being thrown out of these higher states because I judged. So the other part that's significant in this body of the quantum living manuscript, whatever you would like to call it, is putting some really non-judgmental, not a smidgen, on negativity. What is that, and where's it coming from? And I realize clearly all ALL suffering comes from judgment. All of it. We're saying that shouldn't be. That's not right. That shouldn't have happened. That's not fair. They're so bad. All of that. And so that's driven by the ego, which is a mechanism in the brain that actually had a function that was very important to the survival of the species of the human being. And so if you're going to let go of something and you let go with appreciation, there's no judgment there. So in the book, it's more clear, I would say, is a way to describe that, is that you're talking to the ego and saying, thank you for your service. Because there was a time in early mankind that it was essential that you were able to discern what's similar, I'm safe, what's different, I'm not. That's why we're still alive today, is because you fulfilled your purpose. So thank you for your service. Enjoy your retirement or join with us, but you're not in charge anymore. Because now it's consciousness, which is heart-based. Heart Math Institute talks about the heart being 5,000 times stronger, a signal emitted, than anything we're thinking about, 5,000 times stronger. And they call it the bigger brain. Now, the part that's so important about this subject and the segment intending, I want to keep going back to that, because in segment intending, you keep, it's like a living prayer that you are offering in each moment. And the living prayer is to contribute and be of highest value to serve somebody, is how you stay in higher states. And guess what shows up without one smidgen of effort? Nothing, zero. It just appears unannounced, is intuition. And intuition is the biggest deal of all. That's the new genius. I'm actually having a t-shirt done. I'm starting to do t-shirts to start anchoring stuff because it's kind of cool. But so hear this first here, is that it's going to say intuition, the new genius. In the middle is a picture of Tesla with the electricity, the energy zooming around him. That's my first t-shirt. Intuition, the new genius. Because here's the part about intuition. First of all, intuition is a high state frequency, staying happy, kind, joyful, grateful, contributing. There's so much unity, harmony. These are all states that are high states that the consciousness just soars and emits such, I would say, loving genius. And that's what Edgar Mitchell talked about about Apollo. He was an Apollo 14 astronaut, is that when he was out in the universe, basically saying what the vibe he felt was benevolent intelligence. So intuition is connected to our soul, that is connected to inspiration, that is connected directly to God. And our purpose for being here has a very powerful frequency. Intuition keeps us on track to fulfill that destiny. So we want that information. Edgar Mitchell also said, how we say intuition, like the sixth sense, because it's the bigger brain, is what they're also talking about. Edgar Mitchell said, isn't it time we call it the first sense? Isn't that great? So anyway, that's kind of I don't know, there's so much on this subject, but the high states matter. Abraham has talked about that from the very beginning. What do you want? Step 1. Step 2 is none of your business. Step 3, stay happy and joyful. And that they said over and over and over again, anything that you are doing that's causing struggle, and all that effort and struggle and more struggle, we can promise you whatever is at the end of that journey, you don't want. So there's no point The struggle says, this must not be a match for my path. That's all. Isn't this great stuff? I mean, aren't we lucky that we found Abraham? And aren't we lucky that we're taking it to new levels and understanding the quantum field? We need to do that now. It's important for our survival now, is to be able to follow our intuitive sense. And the subtitle of the book, Moving at the Speed of Life, means moving in harmony with your intuitive intelligence, because there's no decision making, it's sensing. And by the way, speaking of that, in MIT, you're teaching CEOs of Fortune 500 companies how to lead their company by sensing the future so that they're relevant in the future. So intuition is now the really big deal. And all we need to do is follow Abraham's teachings for what everything they've ever said is real simple, stay happy. The end. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So anyway, just what you want and stay happy, because the universe will take care of the rest. So in the book, I refer to that as let the universe do the heavy lifting. I have lots of stories on that, but not tonight. So thank you.
This was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna just voice a couple of things real quick, and then I'll let Leo speak. You know, I love the way you spoke about finding that, having a witness to the energy shift, right? But the one thing that I loved the most is that you instantly took responsibility for your judgment. And I think that a lot of times, because many people, I feel, may have blamed it on the person that walked into the room, but that wasn't the truth. The truth was your judgment of that person that walked in the room that threw you off. And I love that, because I think it's very important that we do take responsibility for our responses to what's going on around us. And I know I am struggling with that a lot in my personal experiences in my way, but I just love that you shared that way, and instantly you were like, as soon as I judged that, then that's when I shifted out. And I think
so, can I add one thing on that I noticed, the sense of it, the frequency of it, is that I'm not bad because I judged. I'm just not a match for the higher states anymore in that moment. I'm just no longer a match. I didn't mean I'm bad because I judged. So there's no judgment in that higher state. That's what was so weird about it. It was so fabulous, So good point. I love you offered that.
And the other thing that I kind of pulled from it, because of course Abraham is always talking about our vortex, and I believe that what you've done with your book Quantum Living is define the vortex. I would say that this is that, that's what I would say. Personally, anyways, that's how I took that. But I think this is just absolutely wonderful.
Wow, thank you.
Leo, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, I have questions.
Okay.
Hang on here. I got to put my hand down. There we go. Yeah, remember to do that. Like I'm sitting here the whole time listening to you. And by the way, Darylle, thanks for coming out and speaking to the group. Because everything you're saying, I'm like, yes. And I'm like, but I have all these questions. I'm like, well, she's not done yet. I don't want to interrupt. But I was just wondering, so how did you come into meeting Esther and Jerry years ago?
Oh, thank you for this story. It's so funny. So I had a friend. He was a long time soulmate, best buddy friend, right? And he was a librarian. I called him the researcher, and he called me the Valley Girl because I was from the San Fernando Valley. And what's a Valley Girl and a researcher doing? Vortex hopping. And so we went on lots of journeys, spiritual journeys and stuff. It was fabulous. So he was a big book guy, or he would listen to talk shows. That's pretty much it. And so he he had on some kind of like a radio, also recorder, that he was listening to a radio talk show, Dick Whittington. This would have been in 2000 in 1989. And so, and then Dick Whittington was a kind of famous, big talk show host guy, having Abraham on his show. So that was where, so my friend Ted hears this, he's pushes record, and then, you know, and she was telling Dick Whittington how magnificent he was and stuff like that. I mean, it was just amazing. So anyway, so my friend Ted gave it to me, this recording, and he was kind of embarrassed. Like he didn't want me to think he was like stupid, or which I of course did not. But he was embarrassed because no one heard of channeling. Well, not no one, but I didn't, and he didn't. We didn't have that language back then. And so he didn't want to be like, I don't know if you think a lot, and he couldn't even get a sentence out, and just said, here, I'm here, and it'll get back to me, you know, like that. So I listened to it. It was language I absolutely identify with directly. I called them within an hour of listening to that. And then I called the radio station and got the contact information. Then I had a coaching with them in 2 days.
Yeah.
So then when Ted said, so what did you think about, you know, that, you know, I don't know, whatever. I went, oh, Abraham? Oh yeah, we're buddies. It's like, you know, yeah, I actually had 2 coaching sessions back to back, kind of like that. So that's how I found them. And then and then somebody in the San Fernando Valley who also heard that contacted them and invited them to their home. So then that's where I got invited to the home. And that's where there was just like a living room and maybe 6 people tops. And so it built like that. And then Ted came with me, and then we had this amazing experience, and then we started following them, and it was getting bigger and bigger pretty fast, to where there was a hotel room that probably sat like 70 people or something. It started to get like that. So that's how it was on the radio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing with Esther and Jerry how that Abraham enterprise has grown since it was just them in their, you know, their living room, just doing it for a handful of people. I mean, that's really a testament to the message, because it's really the message that's resonated with people.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And that's that's really cool. Yeah, I was just wondering, like, how, because I've always been fascinated with how things begin and how they start. Like how did you even come into that sort of thing? Like, how did that even get onto your radar?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
thank
always
you
ask
for
that
that.
question. I love that question.
Yeah.
I ask it too. How did this start? Where did this come from for you? You know, yeah.
It's funny because, you know, the way you describe that with your friend and him almost being embarrassed to kind of consider this idea of a channel, and what does that mean? If you look at Jerry and Esther's story, their story started exactly like that, where they, you know, got introduced to the Seth books, I believe, and
Seth, right.
They were intrigued by that and didn't know what that was, and all of a sudden started going that route. So it's that was actually how they got started too, was being introduced to channeling and wanting to know more about that. Yeah. Yes, Leo, your hand is up.
My hand is up, my hand is down. So I see in the chat someone asked about how they get the book.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. It's on Amazon. It's in Barnes and Noble. It can be in your local bookstore. Do you know where there's something called Ingram Spark, which is it could be the Amazon for bookstores. So you could go, so if I'm in Boston or something, and there's a podcast or whatever, and someone goes, oh, I heard about this book, goes to their local bookstore. The local bookstore would then say, well, we don't have it in stock, but we can order it for you. So it's on that system, which is how that system is how it's in. And then Barnes and Noble is a specific one. Amazon is a specific one, but it's because of those links now is how it's in 15 countries in 1 second. It's also in an ebook. And the ebook is, so that's really cool I like the hardback. I mean, I like the solid something because I make notes and I yellow stuff out and I use it for reference material over and over again. So that's my way, but not the, a lot of people like ebooks. I'm getting 2 days, it was published. It was on Amazon and people go, so when's the audio coming out? I'm still reeling from it just being up on so much time. It's going to be coming, but that's another number. It's like $4,000 process to do that, so I wanted to do it well, and that's not today, but soon,
Thank you, Andy. Andy just put up the Kindle link for it.
Oh,
in the
great.
chat.
Yes.
And I guess that gives all the options.
It actually, yeah, it has the hardcover, the paperback, and the Kindle. Now that I look at what I just sent you, awesome.
I really want the hardcover, but I know on Amazon the hardcover wasn't available until October, but the soft cover was available right away. So I was like, well, forget it. I need to read it. And
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
get my hardcover later because I'm hoping I can get a sign, get
Oh,
you excited.
yes. I'd be so happy. Oh my gosh.
And
It'd be kind of cool if you did something, I guess, everybody together, like in person, and just you could do something kind of cool on that,
yeah. Well, we haven't done that in a long time, so maybe it's
Yeah.
time again to consider that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy? Or, I'm sorry, Leo?
Yeah, I was just, well, two things. First, wondering if anybody else had any questions before I ask my question.
Okay.
All I was going to say real quick was that the hardcover says it's available for delivery in my area August 22nd.
Oh, good to hear.
But that's all I have to.
I'll have to double check it and see. Maybe, yeah.
There's 4 book clubs that have been started around this out of nowhere. I'm just saying, it's like the fact that it has a life of its own, though it is. I will say this. I do want to share this because you guys will get this. Is that so I've had a lifelong journey of the human development interest in every aspect of it. You can possibly, I'll go anywhere. The God conversation, I'm there. I don't care where it is on the planet, I'm going there. And so I went to India for 6 weeks and all kinds of places just for this journey. And so when I sat down to write this, when I realized the issue is quantum now, when I realized that the way for me to, I guess you could say, be of value to where it's more than information, to actually anchor the frequency of this in that book would be being in the highest possible state frequencies, to the point where there was that the signal felt so like beyond what my body could contain, where I was shaking, and that. And so and then a friend of mine was in a really kind of down place, and she had just gotten the book, and I went, just read anything, a page or two, something like that. She read 7 pages and said, I feel now completely, totally inspired, or super inspired and enlightened. 7 pages that told me that spirit is in the book. So I always feel uncomfortable saying things like I wrote, because I didn't write it in that sense. I just wanted to be honest. So in the last words that are written in the book, this was like personal from me, if you will, was this book was written in the same way that Bob Dylan talked about writing a song. And Bob Dylan's quote is, I'm not the one who wrote the song, I'm the one who wrote it down. That's the last words in the book, because that's how it feels, is that I was like a vessel for this. This was an important subject, and it's not, this will free, well, it'll do so many things. Number one, when we raise our own frequencies collectively, the evil cannot exist in the same frequency. It's not possible. It defies law, as Abraham would always say. That defies law. So it wouldn't be able to exist, first of all. Number two, think of what we can create together or as individuals, and then together when we're doing it from a high state, judgment free. We can do this. We can go judgment free. I can promise you. Do whatever it takes. There's lots of suggestions in there. Is that I'll give one example, is that we've all had circumstances where something happened that was bad, that we go, that was bad. That shouldn't have happened. That's not fair. And that's not right. That's bad. Then we tell our friend, I mean, I'm the queen of this one. And then we tell all our friends, I'm right, right? Am I right? Is this bad? He's bad. That's bad. You know, am I right? Hello. You know what I mean? I so wish I knew today, back when I was 30, rather than continue to complain for 6 months. And then out of nowhere, something happens. You go, oh my gosh, you know what? This cool thing just happened, which would have never happened if this other thing didn't happen. So maybe this other thing that happened wasn't bad after all. So now the part, I love many things about being older, but one of the things I love the most is the pattern I've seen over the course of my life, that we are swimming in God's love, swimming. Nothing bad happens, nothing. It's all good. It's all for our growth. It's all to have a closer, loving relationship with divine presence. It's all about manifesting our potential. It's all about creating new, better, and more, and beauty and loving. It's all so fabulous. And we can do that when we're judgment free in the moment. It's not over a course of time. We need to remove the judgment. So now what I say, being older, when something happens and you go, ow, is, you know what? Just because I can't see the good doesn't mean the good isn't there. It just means I can't see it. That's not the same thing as it's not there. I love that about being older, because that's the facts. And then if somebody on a highway cuts you off and you go, what an idiot, yeah, blah, 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 as if we haven't done that to somebody else ever. Do you know what I mean? But that happens and you go, you know what? I make stories up. He's probably rushing to the hospital because he heard his daughter was taken there from school. I don't blame him for rushing. So, okay. It just short circuits judgment. Just keep short circuiting it.
I'm going to make a quick comment and then I'll throw it back over to Leo. It's interesting that you say that. I actually just watched a show today. There's I don't know, some silly lawyer show that I was watching or whatever, and they were talking about an incident that happened and a person that was within the area of where this thing happened, and how in the world could they not see it. And scientifically, I can't remember what they called it, but if you are super hyper focused on one thing, then you are possibly not going to see all of the other things around you. Right. So like you said, just because I don't see it right now, it doesn't mean the good isn't there. It just means exactly. I don't see it right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
Leo?
Yeah, so I have more questions for Darylle, but Anna left a question in the chat.
Thank you.
in relation to judgmentalness and what Darylle was talking about before. I haven't my own answer, but I'm interested to hear what Darylle would have to say. I don't know if she can see it.
Her question is, how do you stop your judgments towards a person? Is it practicing more positivity? Does your intuition usually make you feel uncomfortable?
Intuition is a frequency of beauty and knowing, truth, that's connected in a direct, loving way to your destiny. So it has only really cool stuff it feels in that. So no, it doesn't have any negative frequencies in it at all. So there's no nervous, there's no uncomfortable, there's just knowing. And so how we find out and live more in that knowing is when we get an intuitive impulse, we actually do something about that. Because what we do is we say, see, here's the main first part that we talked about, is we need, now's a really good time to shift from we're little with no power, biggest lie ever told, Because if we still have any smidgen of that kind of thinking or opinion of our self-worth, then we get an intuitive impulse. And why would we listen to it? I'm only little me. Why would I listen to anything that comes from little me? Well, the intuition is it is the bigger brain. It is the new genius. It is the new guidepost up ahead. It is the new GPS that Abraham talks about so much. And it's directly connected to our destiny and our future. And see, here's the caveat. And I did write about this. This was written. I'm sorry, this sounds so weird. This was written, is that the caveat that to be able to practice in the beginning following your intuitive impulse is that the rational mind wants evidence before it makes decisions. And it wants evidence by what it sees. It wants evidence by going back in the files of what it has experienced. And then it makes a decision. That's way too slow for the speed of life now. It's too slow. It's not an operating system that is up for the task at hand and getting faster, number one. Number two, so we're so used to and trained for getting evidence before making a decision by what we see. Well, intuition has evidence after you've listened. That's the part we just have to take about, well, I'm not going to get any evidence on the front end because it doesn't work like that. You follow it and you go, wow, I'm so glad I listened to myself. Or, wow, I wish I would have listened to myself. It's like that. The evidence comes after. And then think about it. Is there any evidence looking out your window or anywhere you go out into the world that looks anything similar to anything that's happened in the past? There is no evidence for this moment in time. This is brand new to the human evolution process. This is all new for the entire world. We're all experiencing the exact same thing, which tells me clearly this is an evolution of humanity in their consciousness. That's a more, God-based consciousness. Plugging into that highest state is the greatest feeling ever. There's nothing I've ever felt in any way, in any circumstance, that feels this overwhelming love and knowing and I don't know, peace and beauty and just like it's hard to describe, Yeah. Did that answer the question?
I think so. I'm wondering if we got to, because she did ask about how do you stop judgments towards a person. And
okay. Oh, yeah. Could I
is it practicing more positivity?
Okay. Practicing positivity is a part of that. Yes. Because you're not capable of judging someone when you're in a high state. It's not possible. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you're in a high state and you stay there, unless you are unaware, as I was unaware that I would be thrown out. I'm so aware of it now. I'll do whatever it takes to stay in high states. So the judgment of the person could be how you're interpreting it. So interpretation could be, everyone's on their own journey. And maybe they need to go through this exact process now for their own growth. It's not my journey, so I'm not a match for that. So I choose to separate. That doesn't make that person bad. It doesn't make me bad. It means it's no longer a match. And I wish them well on their journey. So it's a way to sort of peacefully not make it bad, but just say it's not a match is not a negative. And there's a lot of that going on now where we need to discern that too. Not a match any longer to a lot of people we have in our lives because they're not on the journey that we're describing here. Now, a way to stay in the high states is the smallest of kindness in every moment. That's what I'm a fan of. I intend to be of value to anyone who crosses my path as I'm waking up every day, is because some person's in my path. And I'm always thinking about encouraging, uplifting, nourishing, support, uplift another human. I always say hello. if I say something good that has happened, I go up to them and go, I know this may sound strange, but I just think more people should share what we see. I thought what you did was way cool, how you treated the waiter. It was with such respect and appreciation. I mean, it's outstanding. And I loved watching you do that.
Thank you.
Nice chatting with you.
Thank you. I'm gonna let Leo go ahead and ask his question, and then after that, we have a question from Manny in the chat that I will share.
Yes.
Okay, so I was just going to say the same thing almost, but sort of kind of that I have more questions, but Manny has a question and it's an important one and I don't want that one to get away.
Okay.
But what I'll say real quick, just in response to what you were saying and what Anna had asked about judgmentalness. Many moons ago, I knew this person who shall remain nameless, and they were just very intolerant of anybody who was different than them.
Mhm.
You know, if they were, Black or Jewish or whatever it was. And I thought, how can this person be so intolerant? They shouldn't be that intolerant. How can like that? And then I caught myself and I went, oh, I've become intolerant of their intolerance. So I was becoming the very thing I was railing against.
Mhm.
And I think that to kind of help yourself not go to that place of judgmentalness
Yeah.
is to exercise a little bit of being able to see yourself in other people.
Mhm.
And I think, Darylle, like you said, when you're vibrating at that high frequency, it's not possible for you to do that. So I guess the homework, the assignment is to work on raising your vibration to a point where that's not your default mode, is to instantly
Right.
judge and this is bad and all that sort of thing. So just to throw that out there. So
That's so wonderful. You have just brilliantly, Leo, clearly described the essence of quantum living, is how to stay in higher states, because that's the only issue now.
And as Abraham would say, resistance and non-resistance. You were in resistance to that intolerance.
Mhm.
So there,
right, but
Right,
but that's the thing, is it's called self-righteous for a reason, because everyone believes they're right, and
Right.
work in
Can I
progress.
share something with
you
you
live and
on
you learn.
that? Because that's a really important point
Yeah,
you're making, is that I was in Colorado doing a workshop, maybe 28 people in a business workshop. And so there was a guy in the workshop that took issue with one of the subjects I was raising. And the subject I was raising was the word competition, because that happens in business all the time. And you don't need to defeat someone to win. And the word competition means to compare, and there's nothing to compare. I can't say my fingerprints are better than your fingerprints. My gifts and talents are better than your gifts and talents. That's ridiculous. We have to stop the comparing. Someone's young, someone's old. Someone's rich, someone's poor. That's all ego-based stuff, because that's what it was designed to do, was to sort out similarities and differences. What's similar is good, what's different is bad. Do you know what I mean? In early development of man. And so he not only disagreed with this conversation about competition, he stood up. This was the first time this had ever happened. He stood up in the room. I'm in a very high state, by the way, at that point. I mean, I'm just in a very high state. And because it's just to me, it's like giving people freedom from the stuff that binds them, which is judgment. If we can just stop, retire the judgment, and then watch what appears. You just won't believe. I think there's a moment in there about try it for an hour or a day or something and see what happens. But anyway, so he stands up and he holds his arms out stretched as if he's enveloping the whole room, because the whole room agrees that you're full of BS. You don't know what you're talking about, and blah, blah, blah. And he went kind of on and on. And what was so interesting, because I'm in this high state and I'm very peaceful during this happening, and the information that was coming in this high state is collectively these people are interested in seeing how do they handle a situation where someone's being publicly shamed. Huh. Well, that's interesting, I'm saying to myself. It was just like, that's interesting. So not judging him would be first of all, because now I'm in a teaching mode. So what I also realized is the ego, Eckhart Tolle wrote about this brilliantly in his book, A New Earth. Chapter 3 is called The Core of Ego. And he basically said, ego has two speeds, two settings. That's it, two. Being superior and being right. That's it. So being in this high state that's so loving, and I can't just, it's so hard to, how do you describe love, if you will? It's so loving that for me to fight him, because egos want to fight, because each ego thinks they're going to win. They want to win because they have to win, because that's what they do. The ego has to win, has to be right and superior at all times. That's just how it's designed, because it had a purpose. Thank you for your service, right? So anyway, after he finished his whole thing and saying whatever he said, and he stayed standing, he said, so what are you going to say for yourself? And I said, simply, I will not engage with you or anyone where the outcome makes someone wrong. What? But see, you. And so I said, actually, I have a near photographic memory, so I do remember what you said. But if it's of value, I'm happy to repeat it. I will not engage with you or anyone where the outcome makes someone wrong. So what ended up happening, I just, without going into too much detail on the actual event that happened, what I learned is because I did not, it's not even I anymore, the state, these higher states are so vast and loving and huge and vast and just powerful that what I would have had to do to go down to fight would be go down so many layers. I wasn't willing to do that. So the only reason was to say, I won't engage with you. So what happened, 2 weeks go by. And what I learned is because I didn't judge him, is why he learned, because he didn't have anyone to fight with, right? So I go into this company to meet with the owners, etc., on another matter. And then I borrow the back office to make a couple calls before I leave. And the window, there was a window in the door that was milky. So you could see someone's in there, but not, you don't know who. Knocks on the door, opens it, it's him. And he sees me. And he's shocked. And then he said, could I come in and talk to you? I went, because something Leo said reminded me, that's this story. I went, look at you. You looked 15 years younger. Did you just like fall in love or something? You look fabulous. What's going on with you? Easy 15 years. He said, well, I want to share with you. I was sitting on the sofa with my wife. We were watching this movie called War Games. For those who have seen War Games, the computer plays war games before the country actually goes to war, and it plays it out to find. And so this high school kid launches thermonuclear war for real without realizing it wasn't just a game. So it has some challenges and all that. So the computer at the end is, all things are exploding and blah, blah, blah on the screens. At the end, the computer says, the only way to win this game is to not play. And so he said to me, have you seen the movie? I said, yes, I have. 1986, Matthew Broderick. I remember it well. And he said, do you remember how it ends? And I said, tell me about it. And then he tells me, the only way to win this game is to not play. And what I realized is you chose to not play as I was trying to embarrass you in public. And I just want to apologize. I went, well, that's why you look 15 years younger. because righteousness is like hanging on so tight, it ages people. Good for you, and I accept your apology and thank you. It was like that, you know. So the righteousness, we hang on to being right. That's what that's about. It's a lot of energy. It's not worth it. You know, yeah.
And we hang on. Okay, so I do want to get to Manny's question. I know that we're running past our normal time again this week, but I just love the conversation that we're having. But Manny did have the question, and they want to know how do you differentiate between intuition and fear?
Oh, great question. Fear does not exist in intuition. So fear means fear is terror. So terror is extinction and loss, and it's got some bad stuff in it, right? Which is an ego, because guess where that comes from? It comes from the ego, which is the mechanism in the brain. And guess what the ego's terrified of? It's extinction. And it's not wrong, because it is being extinguished in a sense. We don't need that level of discernment anymore. Who's good, who's bad, who's right, who's wrong. We are evolved way beyond that, but ego will not go down without a fight. And then Einstein said on that concept, he said that the mind was originally, he said it better than I'm about to say it, but basically the mind is here to serve the human being. But we've created a culture where the human being has become the servant to the mind. Absolutely right. Because we've allowed this to happen for a very long time. So the way to stay in high states is to do small kindnesses at all times. I can't say this enough. It's like, it's so, there was my favorite story. Oh, I get in an elevator and there's a really old guy walking slow, 106 if he's a minute. I'm holding the doors for him. He gets in the elevator, all grumpy and bitter and done, tired, you know, like that. So I'm always in the frequency of intent value to uplift, encourage, nourish, support anybody. So he gets in the elevator and I went, "Excuse me, sir, by any chance, are you going to the 6th floor?" "Yes," he said, hitting his cane on the ground at the same time as his answer. I went, "Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I hate traveling alone." And he burst out laughing. The energy from his heart that exploded in my chest was massive energy of joy. Massive. It was like an explosion. It was so 6 seconds. See that? Okay, now I go into the meeting. They said to me, "Did you fall in love? You're all glowy. What's going on?" I went, "I had this amazing elevator ride with this old guy." You know what I mean? So it's like every moment. Fear is not the same frequency as intuition. That's the point about intuition, that we must adopt intuition as our new intelligence source to make decisions and stuff. Must. It's directly connected to the moment for our life and our destiny. It's connected. It's so important to listen to that. That's directly connected to God, inspiration, intuitive. There's more even like intuitive intelligence in that, but it's not a frequency match. So what I'm looking at now as an individual with struggles in the world too, is I don't care what's going on. The goal is high states. What do I need to do to be in high states? Sometimes I crank the radio to the 80s music because I can sing every song in the 80s. I know all the words in the 80s, right? Songs and stuff. So I sing along. Singing is a vibration, right? So yeah, I hope that answered the question. Yeah. Just know fear comes from ego. Okay, sorry, you're not in charge anymore. Yeah. I say that when my ego wants to say something. "Oh, I'm sorry, you're not in charge anymore, so I'm not listening. Thanks for sharing, but you're not in charge anymore." It's like, so enjoy your retirement or come along with consciousness, but you're not in charge anymore. Thank you for your service.
Leo, you had something else?
I have a lot of stuff, so many questions. I just wanted to make sure that Manny's question was addressed, because I know that's really important. Because the questions there were all directly related to what Darylle was talking about. So, and I also just wanted to say, thank you to everybody that's on the call tonight.
Yes.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And
I'm
Mari?
putting my hand down
Okay.
because I had my arm up for a long time and my arm was getting a little tired there. But no, seriously, thank you, because you know me, Christina. I like the outside of the box, and tonight's event was a little different than the norm, but very, very cool.
Yes.
So yeah, so thank you.
And I do love how it very much did fall in alignment with, I think it would probably have fallen in alignment with any of the processes that we're going through. But being that right now we are on segment intending, I love that you were able to really tie that in. And I think that the segment intending is one of the really good ways of practicing staying in the higher frequencies, making sure to set that intention. And I love that Leo gave us that idea of connecting together so that you can really, really hear. And so I just love the way that this all tied in very, very beautifully for where we're at right now. Yeah. And I'm so grateful, Darylle, that you were able to come on and share with us about your book and about your experiences. Do we have any other questions or thoughts before we close for the evening?
Do you mind if I share one more thing? Because it has to do with judgment. Do you mind? Because it's really important. This one, yes. It's just coming to me now. Okay. Is that there's a, you may have heard of this called highest and most benevolent outcome. So that was a Hopi shaman, which is the spiritual leader of a tribe, said to a man named Robert Shapiro. So if you were going to buy a book on highest and most benevolent outcome, it's called The Living Prayer, I think, is to get the one with Robert Shapiro, because Robert Shapiro got it directly from the shaman, Hopi shaman. And what the Hopi shaman said to him was, he said, there's something we want in the tribe, how we pray for what we want is to say Father God, I request the highest and most benevolent outcome regarding this opportunity coming to me today. I request the highest and most benevolent outcome regarding this opportunity coming to me today. I request the highest and most benevolent outcome regarding this opportunity coming to me today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Said 3 times. Holding your hands in this way is a connection, like Leo was saying, this is a connector. And so what's happening when you do that prayer is you're releasing all the energy to the universe for the outcome that the universe has the broadest possible. The quantum field has the broadest possible view with all involved. And their destinies for the highest and most benevolent outcome is where everybody wins in that, or gains. And so there's people that are, I work with business people that are on commission. They have a lot of fear comes up. If anything about the money that is going to come might be falling apart. And without realizing that their fear actually could push it over. When it might not be pushed over, but their fear would do that, right? So when you release the highest and most benevolent outcome on anything you're doing, what I've heard people say is how much it's impacted their income, because they don't have a desperation. If somebody's going to buy a house and then back out, how do we know that their intuition said your family's not safe here? Stop. We say, no, go, no, listen to me, not you. You know what I mean? So we need to get there where we just release it to the outcome, to the universe, because then when something happens that you get the thing, just say, if it happens, it's for my best interest. If it doesn't happen, it's for my best interest. That's how you release judgment. you're not attached to the outcome. That's also in, I don't remember which chapter, but it's in there. Also talking about that. So I wanted to share that. That's a way to release fear. Is the outcome is in God's hands.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that because he sees it in a broader way than just my little brain. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. I am really hoping that we all definitely tune into our segment and attending for the next 2 weeks, maybe practice the suggestions that Leo and Darylle gave us. And I am very much looking forward to see how we do and moving forward with our next chapter on our next session in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Darylle. This was absolutely wonderful. I'm so grateful that you were able to be here and that you were able to share about your book. And the information was absolutely in alignment and wonderful. And thank you so much.
Thank you for such a wonderful group. It's such a thrill and a pleasure to be able to have same heart, same mind, same soul connection with others. We're getting more now where we have more, we're not so isolated anymore, just us, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So thank you for the quality of everybody here and how impacted. I will not ever forget this wonderful memory. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hope to see you in person. Let's do something in person. Wouldn't that be fun?
We'll have to figure something out. Maybe it's going to be time soon to
We can
try to
create
put
that.
together an in-person event. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful evening
Thank
and a
you,
wonderful
Christina.
couple of weeks. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all you do for so many and recording this and all of that too, putting this together and keeping it going.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Love you. See you again.
Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.